Hi everyone, thank you for joining us today. We'll start the session in 1 minute.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the webinar introducing the end-to-end zero-touch compliance platform. In this webinar, I'm going to present the new and never-seen-before features of the Cypago platform. You can just drop questions in the webinar chat if you would like to ask something. So let's start, but first, a couple of words about myself. So who am I? You're probably asking. So my name is Yav Perry. I'm the co-founder and CTO and VP R&D for Cypago. I've been, I would say, breaking and building things in the cybersecurity for 20 years. Along my career, I was in the military, intelligent military. I'm a military intelligence veteran officer. I developed research software. I led R&D teams and some other special military cybersecurity trainings. And I also took leadership roles in various cybersecurity startups, having some exits on the belt, and finally also spent some time in enterprises. So basically, I would say I tested it all, and it was quite delicious, I could say. So far, so good. But during my career, I came into two interesting realizations. First, compliance sucks. Second, we're so used to product that makes us work for them, but less to ones that work for us. So we founded Cypago to change exactly that, introducing the zero-touch compliance platform. Security compliance is a real pain in the neck, but doesn't have to be. Today is a great opportunity for me to introduce a different approach and to show you how intelligent technology and easy-to-use product can make the difference. So let's begin. So, why security compliance is so complicated today? Let's break it down and see why security compliance hurts so much. So, today, more than ever, the organizational environment has become highly complex. A typical organization, as you may know, uses dozens of applications spreading across clouds and on premises. So, for example, think of your organization with data and business functionality spread across everywhere, also known as the data mesh or the application mesh. Complex relationships and dynamics arise between the different tools, which make compliance tasks much harder. This immediately translates to what we call the compliance mesh. In essence, that means that compliance tasks that were once much easier, such as determining whether a user has multi-factor authentication, performing user access reviews, or ensuring, for example, a secure software development lifecycle is decent, have become complex to nearly impossible with traditional approaches. Moreover, identifying compliance gaps is complex, and so does tedious processes, such as validating and collecting evidence to prove, for example, that every code change is linked to a GR ticket and been reviewed and was automatically tested. But thankfully, we're in 2022, so we can harness the power of technology to make our lives much easier. So let's see how. Okay, so Before we see Cypago in action, let's introduce some key concepts of intelligent compliance. Zero-touch compliance platform is a compliance platform that works for you, requiring minimal effort and work from the user. Automatic scoping intelligently generates a scope of audits controls, made specifically for the company based on input data and benchmark data. Automatic evidence collection is the automatic and ongoing collection of evidence through smart integrations and APIs. So it basically eliminates the need to manually take screenshot, and it also allows easy evidence sharing with your auditor. Contextual or in-context gap analysis is the automatic process of identifying security compliance gaps that's aware to the full and unique context of your organization, its environments, tools, requirements, and by this, overcoming complexities and providing precise insights with near zero false positives. Automatic gap remediation is about automatically remediate security compliance gaps in a click of a button. And automated risk and governance is automating management, assessment, and documentation of risks and automating cybersecurity governance and organizational security programs. Each of these concepts help us for solving different compliance challenges and as a whole, the security compliance challenge. From vanishing scoping unknowns when starting a new security audit, so we can use our automatic scoping engine to precisely identifying gaps in compliance mesh platforms, environments, with in-context gap analysis and so forth. These concepts were brought to life to simplify security compliance. So now it's showtime. Prepare your popcorns and join me for a tour in the platform. So Cypago is a zero-touch platform to manage all your compliance needs with minimal effort, reducing much friction in security audits. With the power of smart integrations, Cypago continuously collects evidence across data silos and monitors your compliance status by uniquely learning, analyzing, and correlating data. Now, let's see some action. So, welcome to Cypago. You can see the dashboard. We'll return to the dashboard a bit later. But first, what we're going to talk about today is a few things. First, we'll see how Cypago can automate and orchestrate your security audits. In essence, Cypago can map smartly your all security standards and privacy standards to each other. So the work that Cypago does is performed already just once and mapped to all security and privacy standards. So, for example, if you choose to engage in SOC 2 audit, you're already more than half compliant with ISO with the zero touch. Second, we're going to see some, after seeing some use cases, we're going to see the risk management abilities of the platform, and then some governance abilities of the platform, including assets govern. So this is what we're going to see. And asset governance became very important, so we'll touch upon that later. So before we dive in, I'd like to show you how Cypago does it. So first, it is all based on smart integrations, which serve as the basis of all of our engines. So as you can see here, Cypago connects to many integrations, cloud providers, development tools, HR systems, etc. So this is how it's been done. And I can say that connecting an integration is a matter of few seconds and one click. So I invite you to test it also. So you're running your security audit, and you have maybe some security audits in parallel. So what you can see here when preparing to SOC 2 is first that Cypago already provides you with the exact list of controls you have to include in your scope. This is what we call the automatic scoping engine. So Cypago already picked these 63 controls, and apart from the scope itself, what you can see is that Cypago immediately shows you your compliance status. So for example, you can see that 2 controls are compliant. You can see what's bad, and you can see if there are some controls that are requiring some attention. Another thing I would like to mention is that if your company already did some SOC 2 or the audit that you're working on, you don't have to create a new scope with Cypago. Cypago has what we call scope sync feature. So you can just upload an Excel sheet with your existing controls, and you will be automatically and they will be automatically merged into your scope, and you will have the benefit of both seeing your own controls in that same language and enjoying the automation and the engines that Cypago provides. So let's see some use cases. The key requirement that is very common for many security standards is having multi-factor authentication. So let's see how Cypago can help here. We can see that Cypago immediately identifies the users that have MFA and the users that do not have. So you can basically filter by the tool, like I would like to see the status in GitLab, sorry, or the status in Bitbucket. And another useful thing you can do here is the filter by status. So let's see the compliant users, all users that have MFA enabled. But I think more interesting for us is to see the gaps. So our goal is to pass the SOC 2 audit with flying colors, and Cypago helps you to do so with first identifying immediately all the gaps, and second, give you the tool to remediate them. So first, what you can do is simply export this list and send it to your IT department or the girl or the guy that's sitting next to you that can help you fix the issue. Another thing you can do is assign a new task. So let's open a new task. So we can just add our peers. Let's pick one and add a new task. The person gets immediately a link to the platform where he can see or she can see the data and remediate the gaps. So far so good, but I would like to make things a little bit complicated. In a compliance mesh platform environment, like we said, we have dozens of tools, and some of these tools are cloud-based, some of the tools are on-premise based, and some of them are identity providers, for example, or SSO tools. The thing is that some of the users of the application users are tied and linked to SSO users, but some aren't. So in all of this mess, we have to make sure that every user has multi-factor authentication, of course, not considering applicative users. And it's pretty hard, I would say, in these kind of environments and today's era. So what Cypago can help you to do here is actually to see behind the fog and map your data and application surface. So let's, for example, take some employee we have in a company. So meet John, he's an employee. Not surprisingly, he's a developer, writes pretty good code, but by the way, he also likes GitHub a lot, but unfortunately, he forgot to set up MFA in GitHub. Relying on just one data source, you'll end up with partial data and false positives and false information. So this is not the approach we would like to go for. But thankfully enough, John regularly uses Okta when logging into to GitHub. And Cypago's engines, by correlating, learning, and analyzing data from different sources, immediately Cypago identified this relationship, as you can see here, and present precise and in-context insights, saving much time. So we can see that John is safe because he has MFA using Okta. So this is just one example of how Cypago's proprietary contextual gap analysis engines can intelligently see everything and do it for you all in one simple SaaS tool. So we're talked about MFA. Let's talk about different use case. So you can see here the change management control the Cypago platform provides. And I bet that most of you, or at least I think, heard about the Sunburst attack and other supply chains attacks that are targeting what we call SDLC, the Secure Development Lifecycle. So as part of the GRC program and your security program, one of the things you have to do is to secure your SDLC, namely SSDLC, secured SDLC. And for SOC 2, for example, and many other standards, you have to prove to your auditor that you have several controls in place. So first, for every code change that impacts production, you have to show that there is a code review process. Okay, again, this is something that is pretty hard to do without automatic tool, and especially intelligent automatic tool. Another thing that you are required to do is to provide evidence that every code change that impacts production is documented in the ticketing management, in the ticketing and change management tool. And another important thing is to show that everything or every code change is actually tested enough before being merged to production. So we can see here that Cypago automatically identified that there is a gap in the code review control. So in order to watch your back, Cypago does two different things here. First, it continuously collects evidence of the configuration of code review for every branch you have, and also monitors it. And the second thing that Cypago does is collecting pull requests as evidence and monitor them as being reviewed as requested. So let's look at the numbers here. Cypago already collected 64 branches. We see that some of these branches don't have the requirement of code review enforcement before being merged to production. But as we know, I don't know what was the last time you counted your branches, but I bet you can have thousands and more. And most of these branches are not really relevant. So maybe we can prevent the painful process of going over lists of items and determining which branch is relevant to production and which isn't. But there's a lot of work to do here. So for this, we need something smarter. And if we can have contextual gap analysis, again, that is focused just on the right data, it would save us precious time and would reduce false positive to near zero. As you can see here, Cypago learns and understands what branches are relevant. So out of the 64, you can see the 22 are relevant, identified by Cypago. And then you can see that 2 of them are gapped. So now let's get compliant. Filtering to see just the gaps, exporting this list, sending it to our beloved DevOps team. But you can also do other things. You can just click here at the remediation button if you are in write mode, in Cypago write mode. So this is thanks to the automatic gap engine we have, but more on our automated gap remediation abilities in our future webinars. So this is one thing, and let's see the pull requests themselves. So we can see here the same story. We have pull requests. Some of them were not approved. Some of them are even open, and most of them, or some of them, likely not related to production. Again, Cypago does the same. Instead of going over tens of thousands of branches of pull requests, you can see here that just 6 pull requests are relevant and 6 of them are gapped. So after remediation, the next step is to export the data and give it to your auditor. So you can do exactly that here, and also in other with other features we have. For example, the export evidence. So we see some change management related controls. I just wanted to show you that also for changes in software that should be documented, same changes that impacts production, you can see that Cypago monitors that every change is being linked to a ticket in the change management tool. So again, this is credible evidence. You can just export and hand out to your auditor. This is one thing. And another interesting use case is the control of testing processes. You can see the Cypago automatically collects your builds and checks that every build related to production has decent tests and passed the test. Great. So now that we understand how Cypago smoothly help you to collect evidence and to identify and remediate gaps, let's talk about risks. So everybody hates risks, I suppose. If we could, we would eliminate them completely from our lives. But bad news, we can't. So we must manage them. So this is true in life and also in security compliance. So as you can see here, even in SOC 2 and the like, there are some controls related to risk assessment and risk management. So one fundamental documentation you have to provide to your auditor is the risk register. So let's see how Cypago helps here. With Cypago risk management model, you can see all your risk in one single pane of glass. And you can add risks, for example, from our catalog of threats and vulnerabilities. So for example, let's pick something interesting, social engineering, okay? And we can see that we can just pick likelihood. So let's give it 3 for now. And impact can be pretty high. Add mitigation. So security training, for example, and we can also now give the residual risk, which was decreased to, let's say, 2, and impact is the same. So basically, you can manage all of your risks manually and automatically. These risks are also synced with the automatic gaps that Cypago identifies. We'll see it in the dashboard later. And what you can also do as part of your risk management is select owner and assign owner to the risk, and also time frame mitigating the risk. All in all, you can use this as credible evidence, export it as a CSV, and it will be automatically mapped to ISO, SOC, and every other security standards or privacy standard that require this, for example, HIPAA, PCI, etc. So after discussing some risks, let's talk about cybersecurity governance. So cybersecurity governance is all about defining responsibilities and maintaining healthy communications channels, for example, defining policies, managing assets. So how Cypago can help here? So first, as we saw in the control list, here we're talking about ISO, but the same for every other standard. You can just assign an owner to a control and to change the frequency to match your settings. This is one thing you can do, but other than that, you can also have all the relevant documentation and policies templates you have to prepare for your audit. So, for example, as you can see here, we have all the templates can be downloaded, and the cool thing is that Cypago has sync with Drive's data, so you can work on your content in your Drive, and it automatically synced into the platform. And another thing I would like to show you is our asset governance feature. So as you can see here, we have assets, and I'll tell you that this assets visibility provides you your assets across the board, from your SaaS, IaaS, PaaS, on-premises, clouds, and not just that, it puts them in a security context. So for example, let's see users. You can see all of your users from all of your tools. You can, for example, say hello again to our John. Seems he likes the cloud. And you can filter, you can search, you can do virtually everything you would like in order to reveal some insights in the context, again, of security compliance. So this is, for example, the users, their roles, for example, last login, etc. Another important thing we collect is employees. There are dozens of assets. Employees is one of the important ones, because you have to provide the populations for your auditors. So you can see here, for example, the hire date, termination, employment status, etc. This can be easily exported and brought to your auditor. So basically, all you need for your compliance, may it be identifying risk, remediating them, managing the process, exporting evidence, you have all you need in this platform in an intelligent way. I'll give some examples. You can see your firewall. So instead going and logging in to your console in AWS and taking screenshots, you can just export this and send it to your auditor. We can see buckets, and if they're publicly accessible, the encryption status, devices, for example. We can see, you can check that your devices are encrypted.
We have 1 minute to this session, so I think if we can show the little bit about the dashboard and then questions.
Yes, we're heading there. So just to summarize, assets can give you lots of insights and can provide you a means of great evidence. And also you can see here that we have a full-fledged dashboard. You can actually monitor your audit status over time, your progress, your trends. You can see identifying gaps in near real time, prioritized by risks. You will also get some alerts from this monitor risk. You can also see our gadget that provides you compliance posture of every domain of the GRC and other stuff. So that's about it. We have so much more to show, and more very cool features, such as the user access review, a product that will make your quarterly user access reviews a breeze. We also have our next in our next webinars, we'll also have a dedicated webinar on that. So if you'd like us to automatically sign you up and register you to this webinar, please raise your hand in the chat. So now we'll leave some time to questions. Great. So okay, so we have many of them, so I'm not sure we have the time, but let's start with one or two. So Oliver, thank you, Oliver, is asking about the automated user access review and when it will be out. So thanks. The user access review will be out and available actually starting next week. And as I said, please raise your hand or drop us some text in the chat and you'll be registered. Okay, Amanda is asking about what is the pricing plan for enterprises versus startups. So thanks, Amanda. That's a great question. So our product is actually engineered to solve the compliance problem for any organization, small, medium, and large. And we have a wide range of customers, including small startups, unicorns, enterprises. So more information about our tier-based pricing can be found on our website, and you can also always drop us a note, and we'll be happy to respond. So I would like to thank you all for joining today's webinar. It was a pleasure having you here with me. Stay safe, secure, and compliant. Thank you.